It's Wednesday, June 24. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Carol Francis. Plans are far advanced to have a charter flight leave Amsterdam on Saturday with more than 200 Jamaicans who have been stuck in Europe since the COVID-19 pandemic began. The flight is expected to arrive in Kingston early Sunday morning. Jamaica's ambassador to Belgium and permanent representative to the European Union, Sheila Sealy-Monteith, says the individuals on the flight would be traveling from several countries, including France, Spain, Belgium, Germany, China, Thailand, Kenya, and the United Arab Emirates. The Office of Utilities Regulations, the OUR, has expanded the scope of its investigation into complaints about high electricity bills from customers of the Jamaica Public Service Company. In a response letter dated June 19, the OUR indicated that prior to the receipt of the formal request from Energy Minister Favour Williams to investigate the complaints, it had initiated an investigation from April, prompted by a sharp uptick in complaints of high electricity bills. Last week, the utility regulator indicated that it has seen a 200% increase in complaints by way of letters, emails, and calls about high bills. At the same time, complaints via social media have gone up more than 1,600%. The House of Representatives voted for the downtown state of emergency, which was declared on June 14 to be extended by 41 days. The SOE was declared in Kingston Central and Western Police Divisions to curb an uptick in crime. Marlon Samuels has that story.
Just about 10 opposition MPs voted for the government in Parliament to extend the state of emergency SOE declared in the Kingston Central and Western Divisions. Opposition members expressed wariness over the SOEs. Opposition leader Dr. Peter Phillips said the SOEs cannot go on forever. The opposition MPs say they will treat the matter as one of conscience.
You must ask the question, why is a state of emergency and its declaration substituting for other measures? That would include the gathering of intelligence in the ports that stop the guns from coming in, sharing that intelligence. What we're saying is that the strategy, Mr. Speaker, the strategy to confront this criminal action that is running rampant in the society must involve more than just the states of emergency and the declarations, especially when it is proving not to have the desired effect.
Phillips was supported by opposition spokesman and national security Fitz Jackson.
For the last couple of weeks, at the end of the week, Sunday, there was 65% of the murders committed for that week was in SOE areas. The week before, it was 72%. Those are not my numbers, Prime Minister. That's not an opinion I'm sharing. That's a bald fact of life. That is the result of what you have been doing. Not what the opposition has been doing. That's the living result. Come to grips with those reality. Because at the end of the day, Prime Minister, if you fail, all of us fail to come to grips with those reality. People are living out there in greater fear now than they were before. That's a reality. When all the song and dance and the graphs that you show, more people are being murdered and more people are living in fear. People cannot enjoy the fruits of their labor anymore. That's the reality.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness, while defending the use of the emergency powers to fight crime, says it's not a crutch.
Mr. Speaker, is that we are not using the state of public emergency as a crutch that we are relying on to have a long-term impact on crime. The state of public emergency is used, Mr. Speaker, with great discernment, indeed sparingly, to ensure that we can have a short-term, immediate impact on crime, whilst the investments that are being made, the long-term investments, can take root and bear fruit. So, Mr. Speaker, I believe that we have done so successfully. And already, Mr. Speaker, there has been notable progress in the willingness of citizens to partner with the state to remove the presence of violence producers, wanted persons, and illegal firearms. Additionally, citizens have understood the necessity of the measures, and they have been largely supportive of the initiative. I can tell you, Mr. Speaker, that when I go into the communities, regardless of what is written in the papers, the questions asked by journalists, and what is said by some opposition members about states of public emergency not accepted or not successful, the people in the community, Mr. Speaker, appreciate that the state has mobilized in defense of their lives and livelihood.
In the end, the legislative measure received a total vote of 44 in favor, enough to make the 2/3 of the 63-member House of Representatives. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Marlon Samuels.
Many Jamaicans have been disregarding COVID-19 protocols, which could see restrictions being placed on access to beaches and rivers. The concern was raised by local government Minister McKenzie in the House of Representatives on Tuesday.
Most unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, we have received detailed reports, and we have seen pictures of the wanton disregard for the protocols that have been laid down by a large number of persons visiting these locations. The Social Development Commission observed activities at 58 beaches and 65 rivers over the last 2 weeks since the reopening of these attractions, Mr. Speaker. In the parish of St. Elizabeth, in the western region, we noticed that none of the protocols that were laid down was being observed. We noticed that dominoes, gambling, drinking was taking place, people parading without masks, the social distancing rule was not being observed. We visited one location at Alligator Pond River, where over some 700 persons were observed in one area. Alligator Pond Beach, over 300. Turtle Park Beach, over 300. Little Duns River, over 300. Elsha, number can't be counted, Mr. Speaker.
According to the local government minister, operators of sports bars and lounges have not been adhering to designated protocols.
We noticed that there are several parties taking place in sport bars, nightclubs, without the requisite approval from the municipal corporations, without an order being made for the reopening of these activities, Mr. Speaker. And again, those who continue to violate the protocol is putting those persons who are willing to operate within the framework of the protocol, they are putting the reopening in danger because of their attitude in this regard.
Opposition spokesperson on local government Natalie Mita had a different take on the breaches.
And so many of our citizens, whether in the formal or informal economy, are having a difficult time, and so they have had to really be seeking how they can eke out a living. And they have had to open up their business places. They have had to be inviting people to support them, because the truth is things are difficult and they have to eat. So I know, and I'm appealing as you are appealing, that even though times are hard, I am hoping, one, that the government having recognized that this has not yet ended. Many other countries are experiencing a second wave at this time. that perhaps you need to revisit how it is that we are going to be attending to some of those needs which are now staring us in the faces. Because asking us to stay home and to keep our business places closed is for the protection of our nation. But we do need to have our people eat. I'm responding. I'm also expressing, Minister, that I am hoping that the same rules which will apply for our local citizens in terms of our beaches and our places of entertainment will also be applied to those who are coming in as tourists as well. So our people don't believe that there are different rules for locals than there are for our visitors, and that we will also be monitoring those places as much as we are monitoring our local places of entertainment.
The restrictions relating to beaches and rivers were lifted on June 7 for an initial period of 14 days pending review. Central Manchester Member of Parliament Peter Bunting assumed a new role in the House of Representatives on Tuesday.
In accepting this role as leader of opposition business in the House today, I wish to pay tribute to Dr. Phillips, the leader of the opposition, and thank him for the honor he has bestowed on me. I also wish to pay tribute to my colleague, the member from Central St. Mary, who performed the role with such civility and cordiality. I fear that I will be hard-pressed to achieve the same level.
In September last year, Mr. Bunting challenged Dr. Peter Phillips for the leadership of the People's National Party and was narrowly defeated. The proceedings for the Vybz Kartel murder case at the UK Privy Council will begin on Monday. Vybz Kartel, whose given name is Adidja Palmer, along with Sean Campbell, Kahira Jones and Andre St. John, have sought leave from the Court of Appeal to take their matter to the UK Privy Council. In April, all four men lost their appeals in the Court of Appeal. There was a minor deduction made in their sentences because of the time they spent in custody prior to sentencing. And now for the business report, we join Gabriel Thompson.
In Tuesday's trading session, the JSE combined index declined by 3,387 points to close at under 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 76 stocks, of which 23 advanced, 38 declined, and 15 traded firm. The junior market index declined by 46 points to close at under 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for Access Financial Services, Burita Investments, and Blue Power Group. Stocks declined for 1834 Investments Limited, AMG Packaging and Paper, and Cargo Handlers Limited. Trading firm were CAC 2009.5 Preference Shares, Derrimont Trading, and Derrimont Trading Preference Shares. Mailpack Group Limited was the volume leader with over 30 million units, followed by First Rock Capital Holdings Limited with 15.4 million units and Fontana Limited with 11.4 million units. Now for the foreign exchange, the US dollar on Tuesday, June 23 ended trading at $140.06. The Canadian dollar sold for an average $106.14. The pound sterling traded for $177.28, and the euro ended trading at $160.58. Oil futures dropped on Wednesday, extending losses from the previous day after U.S. crude stockpiles grew more than expected, adding to worries about oversupply. Brent crude futures fell 29 cents to $42.34 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude futures fell 35 cents to settle at $40.02 a barrel. And that's it for the business report on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
Another Saharan dust plume is building over the African continent. It's been monitored by the Meteorological Service of Jamaica. Acting head of the weather branch, Rohan Brown, says the dust, while just forming, could become another thick, dense plume coming off the west coast of Africa into the Atlantic in another 2 weeks. Mr. Brown says Saharan dust is not unusual. However, the concentration of dust particles has become thicker as the world's climate changes. The dust cloud being experienced in Jamaica is expected to be reduced by the end of the week. In our Living Healthy report this week, we take a look at the possible health risks from the Sahara dust cloud now affecting Jamaica.
It's been really humid these days. Some people are finding it hard to breathe, and the nights are super hot. That's because the Saharan air layer, or dust plume, has been affecting the island since June 22, and it's expected to intensify over the next 24 to 48 hours. Meteorologist Evan Thompson says the Saharan dust plume is not a new weather event.
This dust layer from the African coastline across the tropical Atlantic is something that occurs on a regular basis every year, around about this time as we move into the summer, going into the fall or the autumn. That's when it would normally occur. And so this is not really an unusual phenomenon. However, this year we're seeing something that is a lot more intense, a much thicker layer of dust that is moving across the area, and it is expanding much farther than just the Eastern Caribbean, but it's getting through the Central Caribbean and into the west of the region. And so Jamaica is more likely to be impacted this year.
Excess exposure to the dust particles can have severe health effects, including increased risk of respiratory and related illness, such as asthma. Let's learn more from CEO of MD Link Telemedicine, Dr. Chebowen.
And dust in itself, being a heavy particle, it can trigger allergies, it can trigger an immune response, it can cause trouble breathing, it can even lodge in your lungs and cause trouble breathing.
What are some of the illnesses that are common in Jamaica that can be triggered because of this dust?
Right, good question. So allergies, of course, your sinusitis, your allergic rhinitis, those are your inflammatory disorders that can occur within your ear, nose, and throat. You can also, the dust, they have put forward a warning, especially to the asthmatics. So an asthma attack, that is about as serious as it can get with the dust situation right now. So you want to ensure you have both your steroid and your Ventolin inhaler at home. If you are experiencing an asthma attack, you want to go straight to the emergency room and get nebulized if that is the case. Another common form of allergy in Jamaica is your typical rash, your allergic dermatitis. So again, your allergies are triggered off by allergens, and in this case, the dust in the air is the main allergen. What you can do in these times, what the Ministry of Health has advised with the heavy dust in the atmosphere, is that we have been recommended more or less to stay what we have been doing with the coronavirus, which is wash your hands, wear your mask, and stay indoors. Those are, again, the three main things you want to be doing with all the dust particles in the air. By washing your hands, you keep your hands clean. You're not going to put it in your eyes, cause an inflammatory reaction in your eyes. Your mask in itself would prevent you from inhaling any dust particles. So any form of mask would prevent you from inhaling the large dust particles out there. And staying indoors, you want to wear long sleeve shirts. You want to cover your face, cover your eyes, cover your food, cover your drinking water. That's what the Ministry of Health has been recommended, and I definitely think that's the way to go.
Members of the public are asked to call the Ministry of Health and Wellness at 888-1LOVE. This has been another Living Healthy report on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom.
The top 10 songs selected for Jamaica's 2020 Festival Song Competition have been released. The lineup for this year's Festival Song Competition is a star-studded one with big-ticket local artists. The event is slated for July. Let's take a brief listen to some of the songs selected.
So you ready now? Come make we dance. Dance to the left in the festival. To the right in the festival. Flop your hands in the festival. What a joy, what a celebration.
Rise up, Jamaicans. Stand up and take a stand. We are all God's people. Turn up the sound, make we bust up the place. Come on, let's celebrate. Nice up the dance, make we jump and prance. Jamaica, we did me friend. We did me friend. Turn up the sound. No matter where in this world I go, I am a Jamaican. No birthplace papers I have to show, 'cause I am a Jamaican.
Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, Olivia Grain, says television and social media platforms will be the engines that will run the Jamaica Festival Song Competition as the COVID-19 restrictions continue to challenge the entertainment industry. In regional news, the Guyana Court of Appeals has ruled that it has jurisdiction to hear in-election cases for the Guyana Elections Commission, GECOM. InfoHub's Felicia Valenzuela reports.
The Court of Appeal has ruled by majority 2-1 that it has jurisdiction to hear an elections case for GECOM. On Monday, in handing down its judgment in the case brought by Eastland David against GECOM and the Chief Elections Officer, David sought to stop the declaration of the results of the March 2nd elections, asking that the court find that the CEO must first determine credible votes cast to calculate the election results. In its ruling, the court interpreted that more votes are cast meant more valid votes are cast. On the matter of its jurisdiction to hear the matter, Justice of Appeal Rishi Prasad said no, while High Court Judge Brassington Reynolds and Justice of Appeal Don Gregory both ruled yes. During their deliberations, the justices all weighed in on Article 177 of the Constitution of Guyana. Justice Prasad said that article speaks to after a president is elected and noted that the motion by David was premature and that it had failed. Meanwhile, Justice Reynolds, in his ruling, said the jurisdiction turns on the election of a president based on Article 1774. GECOM, he noted, has responsibility to determine the final credible count in keeping with provisions of the original order and in the final paragraph of the amended order. Justice Reynolds ordered that more votes in Article 1772B be interpreted to mean more valid votes cast in keeping with the meaning of the Gazetted Recount Order number 60. In the meantime, Attorney at Law Kashir Khan, who appeared for the Citizen Initiative and Change Guyana, made an application for a 3-day stay of the orders. This was granted by the court. Following the ruling, executive member of the APNU, Aubrey Norton, shared his thoughts on the ruling.
We always felt that Article 1774 gave jurisdiction. We can understand Justice Prasad. In fact, in his adumbrations, he didn't discuss much, whereas the other lawyers delved into the fabric of the issue and concluded, one, that the court had jurisdiction, and then in terms of interpretation, they made it clear that votes cast should be interpreted as valid and credible votes. It is also obvious that they saw the Order 60 of 2020 as having force, and that GECOM should have been guided by the order. Now, having said all of that, I think it bears out our position. Our position has always been, and this here is the APNU AFC, that you cannot go to a recount and then treat the recount as if it had no meaning.
Norton said based on the court's ruling, GECOM's CEO now has clear direction.
That the court has ruled that, one, they had jurisdiction. Two, the interpretation of votes cast must be valid votes cast. And I believe that has paved the way for a proper declaration. And so we await the next steps from the Guyana Elections Commission.
Felicia Valenzuela, InfoHub.
Barbadian Prime Minister Mia Mottley is imploring the country to take mental issues seriously. In the last 15 months, 9 Barbadians have been killed by persons with mental illness. We get more in this Barbados Today report.
Barbadians must take the issue of mental health more seriously. That's according to Prime Minister Mia Mottley, who disclosed that the country had recorded 9 deaths in the space of 15 months at the hands of alleged perpetrators whose mental health appeared questionable. She made the comments in Parliament yesterday in her contribution to the debate on the private members' business resolution, which touched on the issues of racism and the Black Lives Matter movement.
We have to understand that this country cannot continue to bear the weight of mental health problems anymore. And that there is no disgrace in treating people physically for illness. There must be no disgrace, Mr. Speaker, for treating people mentally for illness. And we have seen 9 people, I believe the Honorable Attorney General reminded me, in the last 15 months, lose their lives in this country. 9 people, at least, at the hands of 3 people whose mental capacity was at the very least questionable, if not more. And Mr. Speaker, that mental health requires more than not being bipolar. It requires more than not being schizophrenic. It requires wellness. And for wellness to happen, it requires first and foremost accepting who you are and loving who you are.
Prime Minister Motley said the public must settle on the mission that there must be a culture of love and peace in the country.
And if I have to pass judgment on what is the greatest difficulty that we have in this country, it is that we have not sufficiently rooted our families to love each other, to take care of each other, to be peaceful with each other, and to remove the other disorder of public health. Not COVID alone, but violence. And if we're going to do that, then we must call it for what it is, when it happens, where it happens, how it happens. Yes, for the boot on George Floyd's neck, but yes, for the other little boy who might be shot over a deal that gone bad, or shot under a tree, Mr. Speaker, like you know and I know, for a gambling disagreement, or attacking your spouse because your spouse and you can't get along no more. The disease of violence, the public health disorder of violence, is rooted fundamentally out of, in my view, lack of identity.
In sports, General Manager of Independence Park Limited, Major Desmond Brown, says reopening protocols will not be published for the National Stadium until they receive the go-ahead from the government to resume operations at the facility. The Jamaica Athletics Administration Association, J3As, is looking to host a series of all-comers meets and possibly the National Senior Championships in coming weeks. The compound features the National Stadium, Stadium East, National Aquatic Center, Leela Robinson Courts, the National Indoor Sports Center, the National Arena, and other facilities. And that's our package. Join us again tomorrow, same time, same place, for more news and sports right here on PBCJ, the People's Station.